Welcome to the Mocha 5 knowledge base video on setting up and using GeoDNS based replica image stores. This video will discuss a basic setup as well as show a demonstration of these image stores in action. Let's head there now. So referring to the knowledge base article, you'll see that I've got replica image stores located across the globe. I've got one replica in Ireland servicing the European Union. I've got one in Sydney, Australia, servicing Asia Pac, and I've got two in the United States, one on the West Coast in California servicing the western half of the US, and one in Virginia servicing the eastern half of the US. I happen to be using Amazon EC2 for my replica image stores, so those are running actually in those geographic locations in the cloud. You could take a look at them here. So this is the one that's actually running on the eastern coast of the United States in Northern Virginia. I've got one running in Northern California servicing the western half of the US. One in Ireland for Europe. And then I've got the one for Asia Pac, which is located in Sydney. Those image stores are already keyed into, so I'm remoted into all three of those running image stores. You can see I've got this one here is on the east coast of the US. This one's on the west coast of the US, and this one over here is actually in Europe. And if I connect to a particular one, I can actually launch into the replica image store, and you can see that it's actually a replica. So that's where my image stores are located, running across the globe. The way it works is that from a DNS perspective, is that the DNS is split into geographic zones. There is a zone for Europe, there's a zone for Asia Pac, and there's two zones for the United States. I happen to be using a third-party DNS service that provides GeoDNS as part of their DNS services. That company is DNS Made Easy. There's various companies out there that do this. I've just utilized the DNS Made Easy service to show this demonstration. So you can see my domain is mochademo.com. My domain resolves to those name servers that are hosted by DNS Made Easy. I've got a series of A records set up. All my image stores resolve to a common DNS name. That's images.mochademo.com. This would be whatever you define as your common name or your shared name for your image stores. You can see that the one that is in the east coast of the United States is in their GeoDNS Eastern region. The DNS name images.mochademo.com for Europe resolves to this IP address, and the West Coast resolves here, and then Asia Pac resolves here. So all my image stores have a common DNS name. They just resolve to different IP addresses, those particular image stores, depending on what geographic region I actually come into. And DNS Made Easy actually recognizes, based upon their geographically dispersed DNS servers, where my request is coming from, and then routes me to the closest image store. You can see these image stores running in the management console. So here's my Mocha 5 management console. I happen to have a primary image store, and I have three replicas. One of those replicas is actually the shared DNS name. Now, in production, you'd probably want to actually have the shared DNS name be your primary image store, and then have your replicas actually have your unique name. That way you can manage each replica independent of the other. And that's helpful not only to actually check to see if they're up and running, but also to push out updates independent to one replica. We have a process of either pushing or pulling data to that replica. If it's pushed, I can come into an image or a client pack, come into push to replicas, and actually define what replica I want to push that information to, and then say push. You can see I've already pushed that information to the replica on the western side of the United States. I've also pushed that image to the replica sitting in EMEA, but I have yet to push the image to the replica sitting on the eastern side of the United States. Actually, we're going to use our pull technology for the replica to actually pull the image over on its initial request from the player, and we'll show you that later. From a policy perspective, if you look at my player policies, I actually have a custom policy for all my live PC users that go to images.mokademo.com. And obviously I can define what image store they go to, but again, to be able to use the GeoDNS service, I want them to all go to a common DNS name and then have the DNS service actually route to the appropriate resource or replica image store. All right, so let's go through a demonstration. If I look at where I'm at right now, you can see my location is in Palo Alto, California. So when I request an image from the Mocha 5 image store, I should be routed to the image store that's in Northern California, since that's where I'm at, so the western side of the United States. So you can see this one's at US West. This is my US West image store, this one here. So I should see actually a spike in activity on this image store when I request an image. Here's my Mocha 5 player. I'm going to go ahead and add a live PC. Now again, this image is already being cached on this server. So I'm going to request the image. We'll see that the M5 service is kickstarted, and we should see bits being sent across that link. There it goes. You can see the activity on the network is now spiking for that particular server. And so my image has now been downloaded. You saw the activity spike. We saw the bits being sent. And then I have the image. If I actually opened up a command prompt and I ping images.mokademo.com, I should be returned the appropriate IP address, 50.18.79.61. So indeed I was routed to the right machine. So now I'm going to go ahead and delete my image, and I'm going to go log into a VPN so I can get an address located in a different part of the country. So I use an IP service, a VPN service, to do that. I'm going to go ahead and log myself into New York. So let's pick the one that's got kind of the fastest response time. Connect. This will provide me an IP address as if I'm in New York City. So from my Mocha 5 player perspective, it thinks that I'm actually in New York City. So here I am, New York. Here's my IP address. I can come back to my browser, refresh my browser, and now I'm seen as being in New York, New York. So when I request the image download now, I should be going to this server here. Now, this server doesn't have a pre-cached image because I've never pushed it to this server. So what we're going to see is we're actually going to see this. I'm actually in the image, the replica image store, in the location where the bits get stored. So we'll actually see that image get first pushed down automatically to this replica image store, and then once it's staged at the replica, it'll actually send it to the player. So pulling of information is actually nice because you don't have to pre-stage any of the information at that replica. The replica will go fetch what it needs for that particular player request and then cache it there for future requests on different players. I can also come back here before we do that and ping that address, and I can see indeed that now I'm resolving to 23.23.3.24. So let's go ahead and make the request to go get an image. Come in here. I'm going to go ahead and download that. So again, the first thing I'll see is this is going to go out and fetch that image. So it's attempting to download it. I can see that the image has showed up. That service is now launched here. So it's the machine that has the activity. And once this image finishes, once this replica finishes fetching in that image, it'll start downloading it to my player. And you can actually see that happening now. And we actually see the network spiking So I'm now being routed to the replica image store in Virginia, which services my eastern US region. And that updates, that image is going to start downloading. You can see it downloading there on the bottom of my screen where the Mocha 5 player is. The download might be a little slower because I'm sitting in California and VPNing into New York City. But you get the idea that that's actually now downloading from a replica in New York City. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and pause this and delete it. So that demonstrated that a pull of information. It contacted the replica. The replica didn't have the information it needed. It went out and actually got the information, and you can see that that's the image that I requested quick start and the files associated with the image. All right, so let's do one more example with me being in Europe. So I'm going to disconnect from New York City and log in to a place in Europe. Let's follow the knowledge base article and log in like I'm in Dusseldorf, Germany. So I'm connected. I'm in Dusseldorf. I've gotten my IP address. I'm going to go ahead and verify that through a browser. It shows that I'm in Germany now. If I ping it, I should ping the proper device box, 54.228.65.133, 54.228.65.133. So I know I'm actually now being routed to the right device. And if I request that information again, as far as the image is concerned, I will be pulling from the replica image store in EMEA. So let's download it. And we'll start seeing this once it attempts to download. We'll start seeing the network activity. There it goes. And this guy is now downloading that information. And we can go see the network graphs that spike it. So you can see my network is now starting to spike as that image starts to download. So that concludes the quick video on how Mocha 5 leverages dynamic or GeoDNS services with its replica image stores to geographically disperse image updates, images, as well as software updates depending on where you are in the world and doing it dynamically. Thanks for listening. If you have any questions or comments regarding this video or anything else, please submit them at help.mocha5.com.